Is do you still need a website in 2025? I know it sounds like a maybe a ridiculous question, but sometimes we get this question about with all the different tools and avenues and channels available, do I still need a website? So I'm pretty opinionated when it comes to this. So you'll probably find out the rationale and why we believe websites are still super important even in 2025. Then Rebecca is going to talk about some website pitfalls. There's some things that we see on a daily basis, so we want you to prevent some of those pitfalls when you talk about your website, if you're updating it or building a new one even. So, and then the main topic is today is smart websites. So a lot of websites that you see from small businesses are more or less a digital brochure, right? And which is important. You need to be people need to be able to find you. So that's at the very basic level of the purpose of the website. But in addition to that, there's a lot of new things you can do with websites these days. So we just want to give you some ideas. They may not be all applicable to your situation necessarily, but at the very least, you get a taste of what's out there. Capturing lead is one of these things that are really important. So we'll talk about that. Automation, AI, you probably heard about AI by now, right? AI is overall, we believe, a good thing. Like it helps us to be more efficient. It's a little scary at some point. I'll admit, I'll be the first one to admit that it scares me a lot what AI can do and what's coming at us. But it's also exciting, and I see it as a huge opportunity for ourselves and our clients as well. And yeah, so that's basically what we're going to cover. So, do I still need a website? Well, if you look at some of these stats, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? People spend an awful lot of time online. Now there's a lot of different channels that people, social media is a real time, destroyer, I think, in some ways, right? People are a lot, browsing through the social media platforms. But yeah, like 5+ hours a day online, that's almost like unbelievable, right? So if your business is not participating in that and actually be is visible in that whole scenario, then it's really hard for your organization to stand out and people find out about you. So um, and then another stat is 75% of visitors judge your credibility on your website, right? So the question I would ask this group is like, would you buy anything from a business or a company that doesn't have a website, right? So you don't have to necessarily, you can maybe put it in the chat box, yes or no, but I know it depends. If you know the person, or you know the business already, then maybe the website is optional. But I think if you actively want to grow your business and want people find out about you, it's really difficult to do that without a website. So hopefully that makes sense. This is an interesting statistic that I found the other day. I'm kind of blown away by it myself, but that means there's lots of opportunity still. 22% of businesses in Canada do not have a website. So, so for various reasons, I mean, I know a few businesses that have been, quite successful actually without any online presence, and but their whole business is based on referrals, on repeat clients. Um, the one thing I'm going to point out about that, you make yourself very. It's really difficult for you to at some point sell your business if you don't have any online visibility and online assets, right? Because if everything you do is just by word of mouth, then it becomes hard to put the value on that. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but it makes life a lot more difficult. So any thoughts on this before I move on? I mean, I see a few engaged people here, so by all means, open up your microphone, and I can read probably the room a little bit. If you want to say something, just pause here for the 3 seconds uncomfortable silence. All right. So the nice thing about your website is actually that you own it. Now, I'm a firm believer of owning things, right? Like we own the house that we live in, we own the car that we drive. Now, there's different opinions on that, but if you contrast that with, for example, social media, Social media, you don't really own anything, right? Like, so yes, it's a great tool for building awareness and getting people to know you, know about you. It's a great, but yeah, it's a great tool to broadcast your message, right? If you use the right channels. But the problem we see with social media sometimes is they will change the rules on you, what you can do with that information. So if your whole lead generation, all the new business that you're getting in, is actually coming through a social media channel or one channel in general, is that channel no longer works. Now you're very vulnerable to not getting any more leads into your business, right? So you don't want to do that. So we've seen some of those rules change over time, right? What you can and cannot do with information from social media. It has a lot to do with privacy rules that change, and yeah, like it's just it's a risky business is if you just focus only on that channel. So in essence, you're renting your space, your exposure from Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, from Google. You actually don't own it. So in contrast, your website, you fully own it, or you should fully own it, we believe. It becomes the online foundation of everything else you're doing. Like if your website doesn't exist or is not, the way what it should be, it's definitely there's no point of directing more traffic to it, right? If it comes down to generating more leads, you're in control over it. So you can update the information on it. Yeah, you can do a lot of things with your website. So hopefully that makes sense. So in other words, be an owner, not a loner. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on social, but it's just that it should probably start with your digital foundation, which is your website, still in 2025. So, as I said earlier, like all your marketing efforts, when it comes to, for example, things like advertising online, like I'm not sure by a show of hands how many people are actually actively paying to get exposure online. Maybe put that in the chat box. Just opening up the chat box here. Yeah, so a lot of our clients are actually actively working with yeah, like things like Google Ads, and search engine optimization is being found online, for example. Some of those things are really, they should all point back to your website because that's where your property that you own, that's where people go to get information and get in contact with you. So your website should be a lead generating machine. If it's just a pretty brochure, like a pretty face of your company, it's probably not the most effective, right? Like it needs to look good, it needs to be professional, but it also needs to do something actually way more important. It is actually you have to get more customers or more connections. Like I noticed a couple not-for-profits on the call here today. So maybe you don't talk in terms of customers. Maybe you talk in terms of donors or volunteers or stakeholders. So building trust is huge. Again, like what I said earlier, if you don't have a website, it's like you don't exist, right? So it's not a good thing for your business. It's a missed opportunity. Capturing those leads is really important. So what does that mean? Basically, when people land on your website, there's actually something for them to do. And Rebecca, you'll be talking about some of the, common tactics or ideas that you can implement on your website to actually get to that point. Because it's way more important, in our opinion, to have a name, a phone number, and ideally an email of somebody rather than just having like the visitors. Because visitors, how do visitors to your website translate into revenue, right? Like most of our clients are in the revenue business. It's really hard to know. But if you have somebody that you can talk to, kind of build that list for your business, then now you have actually something that's way more valuable. So be found online. Google, I checked this morning. There's a lot of talk about how search will work in the future, right? With eye on artificial intelligence and companies like OpenAI. As of today, according to the source that I was looking at, 93% of the search traffic, so people searching for your business or organization, still are using Google. OpenAI is definitely something that we keep a close eye on, and some of the other providers as well. Google, of course, has their own AI, technology, and all the other players. The search industry may definitely change this year, We definitely expect that, but at this point, it's still a very small percentage, but something you definitely need to be paying attention to as well. Okay, so I'm gonna give it over to Rebecca now here for a minute to talk about some of the common pitfalls that we see with building a website.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Peter. So, one of the biggest issues I think that we see is that they're often designed for the website and not the customer. So, what that means is that the site reflects the business owner's preferences and sometimes even their ego rather than the needs, behaviors, or expectations of the potential customers that are actually visiting their site. So, this can show up in a few different ways. So, navigation that's confusing to anyone unfamiliar with the customer, too much jargon, or simply not actually including the information the customers are looking for. So, visitors do want that trust factor. Those achievements, those accreditations still belong there, but they need those practical details and the practical information to take further steps and learn more about your business through your website. Another common problem, kind of tied into that, is the lack of a clear marketing message. So, when someone visits your website, within 3 to 5 seconds, they should know exactly what you offer and what kind of sets you above your competitors, why they should pick you. That message needs to be like super upfront, easy to find, and then also consistent throughout the website. So, there shouldn't be any questions, concerns. They shouldn't have to search for it. Just one simple one liner that says who you are and leaves them knowing who you are as a business. Content also is a tricky one. So there's a fine line between too little and too much. You want to make sure you give the visitors enough content that they get the information they need, but not too much content that they're just not reading anything because it's too much information all at once. We like to recommend doing bullet points. It just keeps the information super accessible, easy to find, and gets rid of some of those filler words. And we've actually found that Google prefers this because it can quickly pull out those keywords. The content also has to be relevant and current. So if someone reaches out to your company based on information on your website and it's a service you no longer offer, or if your latest project on your website is from 2017, it's just going to start to raise those doubts and those questions on the validity of your company and whether, it kind of starts to decrease that trust or doesn't establish the trust with the potential relevant and current content could provide the visitors of your site. Another common thing we don't see is clear call to actions. So, call to actions are just direct steps that visitors on your website can take to take things further. We like to categorize them into two different ones. Primary, which is for people actually ready to make a purchase or take steps towards that purchase. And those would be little statements like book an appointment today, request your free quote, contact us for a consultation. Those kind of things push your visitors to take a step towards their purchase. But the reality is, not everybody that comes to your site is going to be ready to make a purchase today. So that's where the secondary ones come in. These are things like sign up for a free webinar, take a free assessment, check out this ebook. These instructions direct them towards building a relationship. So we'll touch on this a little bit more when we talk about lead capture and lead magnets, but they're a secondary call to action, just encouraging visitors to your site to actually act on what they're learning from your site. Finally, the last one is poor SEO. It really destroys a website. Search engine SEO, which is search engine optimization, is how you get found online. So once a search engine receives a search, they have to kind of rank it for their searcher to get them the information they think they want. And it uses your backend and technical SEO to do that. Basically, if you don't have good SEO, your website's not going to be found. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks, how well designed it is. If it doesn't have that proper backend setup, I like to say it's like a billboard in the desert or in Saskatchewan. No one's going to find your website. No one's going to learn about your company. So if you're going to put in the effort, make sure that the SEO is done well at the same time. So anyway, those are some of the big pitfalls we frequently see. But it's back to you, Peter, for talking about
Yeah.
what is a smart website.
Thanks, Rebecca. Maybe I've offended somebody that's from Saskatchewan by now, but we'll apologize for that. But you got the point across that yeah, like it's important that people can find you. The one thing I was going to add to you, what you said about content, again, when I talked about what the search landscape will look like this coming year, the bottom line is search AI needs content, and that content, hopefully comes from your website. So that's we can see a real more importance yet on actual content on websites that's relevant to the AI bot. That's something to definitely keep an eye on for this coming year. So now we're going to talk about, going from a digital brochure website, which again, a lot of websites are, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's generally the first step that people take when they build websites. But what about actually if we can add some more smarts to that? Like, so we're going to talk about things like lead capturing. And again, I keep coming back on capturing leads because having visitors to your websites or having likes to a social media post is great. But if you cannot connect that contact, that person, with an actual name, it becomes really hard to kind of follow up with those people. And the reality is, for most businesses on this call, the very first time that people find out about you, that is generally not the day that they right away order from you, right? Especially if you're selling like an intellectual property product, like a course, or even higher ticket items in oil and gas, safety industries. People go through a process. It's called the customer journey. By knowing about you, by liking you, by trusting you, and then they may actually try you out. So there's a whole process that goes through that. So if you can somehow create a list of people that have shown interest in what you have to offer, you're in a much better position to nurture that relationship until they're actually ready to buy. So um, smart lead capturing can also include things like SMS chat. So we'll talk about it a little bit more. Like, so make it super easy for your potential customers to interact with you. And we know that people love their cell phones. People love their texting. Sometimes when I send somebody an email, I may get a response back the same day or the next day. If I send somebody a text, generally speaking, I get a response back in seconds, if not minutes, right? So you can actually use that to your advantage as well. So we're going to show you how to do that. Um, you know, you again, your website is your central access point for your customers, so you need to make sure that the information they're looking for is available. Then we're going to talk about some automations and AI integrations that we are working with actively, and that could also be applicable to you. And again, going back to that the theme of the actual website. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide here, but these are some of the website essentials. The navigation is really important, right? Like make it really easy for people to find the information. Mobile responsive, yeah, like that's a given now as well, right? If your website doesn't show properly on mobile phones or tablets, you're in trouble. We see up to 60% of website traffic, sometimes even higher. So you need to make sure that you have the mobile responsive version of your website, under control. Professional design, you will be when people get to know you, you will be judged on what you look like. I know it's not fair, but that's kind of how the world works. So if you have a professional designer actually developing a website for you, you're in better shape, generally speaking, than trying to do it yourself. The proof, the trust factor is really important. Testimonials from customers that you've worked for, that you solved the same problem for. Accreditations, things that you've done that are important to your clients. All right. So one thing about what makes a smart website is measuring results. So on most of our websites that we work with our clients, we have like a reporting tool that we install. So we make it really easy to actually show you what's happening on the website. Because let's face it, if you don't know like what's working and what's not working, it's really really difficult to make improvements. So we look at things like the traffic, of course, but also conversions. How many people have downloaded? How many people have booked a meeting? How many have what did people do on your website, right? A lot of small businesses still don't really measure any of this, and it makes it really difficult to make improvements if you don't measure first and see what the baseline is. Um, Somebody says here, Scott says, like, I'm surprised mobile's only 60%. Yeah, I don't disagree, right? Um, like some people don't have computers anymore, right? They do everything. They're glued to their phone, and rightfully so. Like, it's so convenient, right? If you're a bit of in the older demographic like myself, I like to have a big screen because I find it easier to navigate, and I like a keyboard that I can use. But yeah, it's definitely something that's definitely still on the rise, I think. But so yeah, like measuring the your results is really important if you want to, if you want to make any improvements in that. Rebecca, you want to add anything to this slide?
No, I think you covered it all. You're good.
Just let me know, Rebecca, when you are taking over here with slide, so I don't take away your thunder. But yeah, so central access point of your customer can be as simple as, you have a lot of small businesses have external services to, like an accountant, for example, will have a portal that their clients can go into and actually, download information, communicate with you. Make sure that you make that accessible on your website. Um, you can have subscriptions, like if you have courses, for example, you want to have a point that people can log in through your website. E-commerce could be as simple as allowing people to pay their bill online, right? Like a lot of the accounting systems that you're using probably allow for online bill payment. I think it's underutilized at this point. And you can go as far as actually making your product available online as well. And again, it really depends on your business. We have a lot of businesses that sell to other businesses, and for them, e-commerce is a little harder to do. And one of the reasons for that is oftentimes it requires an advisor or salesperson to actually make recommendation on which product is the right solution for their problem. So if you just allow them to order things online without any interaction, the customer may actually get the wrong product. So we've seen that a bit of a drawback of e-commerce, I guess, for very simple products. Of course it's a no-brainer, right? We shop online all the time, and especially after COVID, that only has increased. Just stop me if you have any questions. Click the call buttons. It's really important. It seems like a very simple feature, but on your mobile version, like in light of so many people using mobile, just make sure that a phone number is actually clickable. So as soon as they're on their phone, they're finding out about you, and they do want to make a phone call, and then it's yeah, like it's a simple single tap for them to actually do that. Okay, so those are some ideas we have about, making your website smarter. Now we get to some lead capture ideas that we implement for our clients, and maybe if you're not doing any of these, they may actually be a really good idea to actually get more traction by building a list of people that have shown interest. And then, of course, once you have a list of people that have shown interest, or even people that have bought from you before, now you can actually nurture that relationship and actually make sure that they stay informed about what you have to offer. So, Rebecca, I think you're gonna
Yeah.
talk about some of these things.
Thanks. I'll jump in on these ones. So, yeah, as we kind of mentioned when we are looking at the common pitfalls, um, those secondary call to actions are very necessary. So that kind of overlaps with our lead capture. It's collecting information and starting the relationship and the engagement with customers way earlier on than when they're customers, when they're just at a visitor, and helping them become those leads. So one of the ways that we look at it is through our smart contact forms. So Peter, if you can flip the slide to the next one. Perfect. So unlike a basic, like just contact us with an email for them to reach out to you with, a smart contact form on your sheet lets customers connect with you directly on your website. They don't have to go anywhere else. And a big bonus is it integrates directly into whatever CRM you're using if you have it set up that way. So it can help create the contact directly. And if you have automated follow up set up, that can even start right from them filling out the form online. One thing I really like about a smart contact form is it collects information from them in a structured, consistent way for you. So if you consistently need to know what services, like for example, for Edge, what we ask is what services are you interested in? It's a very simple question, but it helps us better prepare for the conversation and even just direct the right person to engage with the customer. Um, yeah, it just helps us up for better success in nurturing that lead after it's created. Yeah, keep it short though, so they don't lose interest. If it's too long, they're not going to fill it out. But if you ask for just a couple details, a little bit more, it just helps sort of even for them feel that you actually care about their needs and you're going to respond appropriately. The next one is lead magnets. So, lead magnets keep them engaged and provide value. The goal is to provide value in exchange for their contact info. So, their name, number, email, that sort of things. Experts say it should feel like about $20 value for their in exchange for their email and phone number. So you can be the gauge of what that $20 value kind of is. But think free samples, ebooks, courses, free consultations, webinars, free online assessments, those kind of things. Something you can offer them to entice them. And then in return, you get their contact information to continue nurturing that relationship. So, for example, this webinar, you signed up. And so now when we have follow up webinars, as long as you're still in our system, we can still engage with you and let us know about future stuff that we're doing. And then if it's not something you're interested, that also becomes an option. Um, but we get to build relationship with you because we care about who you are, and that started by us offering this webinar. So the key though is offering real value. They're not going to just give you their info for nothing. Another key lead capture method is through automated appointment booking. This lets customers book on their terms, and it also can sync directly into your calendar and capture their info, just like a smart form would. But they're connecting directly into a specific time specific time with you. I don't know about you, but when I'm shopping for like a service where I have to have an appointment, I love seeing that when I love it when I can go online and see when their next availability is and see if their availability is going to line up with my schedule. Also, it really helps if I can do that outside of business hours. Like if I'm looking at 10 o'clock at night, the business isn't going to be open, but I can book my appointment and make that sort of a commitment to connecting with them further on my terms. The biggest thing is it just lets customers come to you on their terms and it makes it easier for them. And then finally, the SMS chat bubble. So this is what you usually see at the bottom of the screen on a lot of websites. The nice thing about it is that you're once again collecting their information. And since most people will be on their cell phone, you'll be texting them back directly to their actual cell phone number. And as Peter kind of touched on, like we think this is one of the most coveted direct access points because everybody's on their phone. It's a lot quicker than email. So if you can get directly into an SMS communication, that's a lot easier. So overall, the chat bubble is just simple and accessible. And that's your goal with lead capture. Make it effortless for them to connect with you in a way that works for them. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Um, and again, you can also do things like once you actually collect those contacts, right? Like they're basically cell phone numbers. You can also do SMS campaigns. We have one client now, and Katie, you're working with them, I think, on this SMS campaign. So instead of an email marketing campaign, it's actually done through to their cell phones, and it's been very successful because people again, people love communicating through that channel. So you make all these things that Rebecca talked about makes it easier for your potential customers to connect with you, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you're actually capturing their information, so for future reference and for marketing purposes. And people understand that, right? Like when we give our name and our email, we do understand there's a like a return of value that we provide. So some of the now we're getting to the AI portion, like some of the you know the the latest, I guess, marketing tactics or technologies that are being developed. So one of them is the AI chat widget. So the widget that Rebecca just showed was basically okay. It can be automated. It can as soon as somebody asks a question, you can have like an automated text back that says, "Hey, thanks for contacting us. I'm busy right now." Like a lot of our clients, especially our smaller clients, they may actually be working in the field when they get these inquiries. There's no way they can actually get back to them right away, but the system can actually send back an automated text message and say, "Hey, we got your message. We'll get back to you as soon as possible," which will, in essence, potentially prevent this potential client, from going to the next person that they found on Google, right? So it could really increase the number of people that actually, once you respond to them, they go like, "Well, these guys are paying attention. I'm going to wait until till chat or somebody else gets back to me on this, right? So that's an advantage. Now the AI, sorry, chat, I'm just picking on you. AI is kind of ups that game a little bit yet, right? So instead of you've probably seen it on a lot of websites already. A lot of large companies are working with this to make the customer support easier. But I think we're getting to a point now that these AI chat bots, because that's what they are so good and so human like that the people actually are gonna respect or expect you to provide this service, but also they're gonna be okay with it. Like if I can chat with a bot that actually can solve my problems or answer my questions, I have no problems personally that's not a human being. Now, of course, I know there's gonna be some pushback on that. What about the human touch and what about the human connection? And I totally get it. But even if you could get the first 50% of the questions that everybody's asking, if you can get them answered automatically, you're actually going to be in a really good shape. Now, the other thing with the automated chatbots is you can actually train them on your business, right? So it's not only like the big language model that answers these questions. You could actually, for one of our clients, we're actually training this chatbot to actually go to this part of the website or there's prepackaged information that's already because we know roughly what the frequently asked questions are, so we have created answers for those questions and we actually feeding that into the chatbot, and honestly I'm very impressed with the quality of responses that we're getting. And of course, it's technology, so it's not going to be perfect. But I think we're getting to a point now that the technology is so good that they can actually, in some cases, they're smarter than human beings when it comes to looking at a lot of data really quickly. So that's just something to keep in mind. They also learn from from experience. If there's questions, the questions being asked over and over, it actually learns from formulating a better answer to those questions, which again is going to be very beneficial if you run this for a while, and it's going to be more accepted and accepted, right? So I'm not sure. I'm sure in the Q&A we'll get some pushback on that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, right? Like if we're on the right track there, or we need to reconsider some of these things. But I honestly, it's almost like I compare the advent of AI with the advent of the internet, right? Like a lot of people at the beginning, in early years, and I actually lived through them. Maybe we're wishing these things would go away, but the reality is they haven't gone away. They have exploded, and yeah, AI is just exploding right now. So in addition to text, you can also have an automated phone receptionist, and we're going to show a little video here. Hopefully, the technology works from our end to actually show that to you. But basically, you're replacing the first line of contact instead of just texting. And some people, again, I just said a lot of people like texting. There's also a part of the population that doesn't like texting. They actually like to speak out their communication, which again this technology allows. So it again, I'm not saying it's applicable to each and every one of you on this call, but it's something that's coming. And I think as a business, you need to be informed about it, and have to be ready to kind of jump into some of these things. So
This call will be recorded for quality purposes.
Hey, you have reached our dental clinic. How can I help you today?
Hi, I was just calling to get some information about veneers.
Got it. I can have a team member reach out to you with all the details. Can I get your name, please?
Sure, it's Chase Buckner.
Just to make sure I've got it right, your name is Chasebuckner. Is that correct?
Yep.
Great, thanks, Chase. Could you also provide your email address so we can send you the information?
Sure, it's Chase at gohighlevel.com.
Just to make sure I've got it right, your email address is chase@gohighlevel.com. Is that correct?
That's right.
Perfect. Lastly, could you tell me a bit more about what you're looking for with veneers?
Yeah, I just basically wanted to get some pricing info.
Got it. I'll have a team member reach out to you with the pricing details for veneers. Thanks for calling, Chase. Have a great day.
Thanks.
okay, so so that's just like an illustration of what's possible. And I think if you're in the service industry, if you take appointments, if you have people calling into, we have a like an automotive shop that is actually looking into this, to people calling in for tire sizes. They're selling winter tires, so this automated system can actually do a really good job of making sense of those inquiries and actually give people an instant answer. And for a lot of people, that instant answer, although it is, they know it's done through AI, will actually be more satisfying than having to wait half a day or even half an hour for the answer to their question. So, um, yeah, missed call text back is another feature that we have implemented for a lot of our clients. It kind of goes hand in hand with people that contact you either to phone by phone or by text or by other ways, to quickly send them a text message again. So to say, hey, we acknowledge your inquiry and we'll get back to you very soon. So we've covered a lot of stuff, and hopefully we can get a bit of a discussion going about some of the things that we talked about. But I think we want to highlight the opportunities that are out there for you to to step up your game when it comes to your website. When you have a good website now, what else can you do with it? So hopefully that was helpful. Bottom line is you still need to be found online. When it comes to those searches and AI, I think Google is, of course, 96% market share. They're really aware of that. If the search habits that we have, how we search for information changes, that could really affect their business model. So they're really on top of that as well. I think if you are a plumber, or if you're looking for a plumber in Red Deer, you're not necessarily looking for an essay or a whole bunch of information about how plumbing is done. You're actually looking for a contact. So you're looking for a website of somebody that can help you solve that problem. Capturing more and higher quality leads. Hopefully, we have given you some ideas for that. Automation, again, if you can automate any of the processes in your business, it will give you more consistent results. Like, it saves you time. It also actually gets done automatically. Whatever gets done automatically gets done. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And then yeah, saving time and increasing those conversions. So consistently outperforms human effort. Rebecca, I think you came up with that. So good job. So now we want to go to, if there's any questions that you have or thoughts or pushback of any that we said, we'd love for you to put it in the chat box. Okay, we need to. This is the next event on April 23rd. We're actually going to dive into AI a little bit more, and I'm just gonna open it up for questions from the chat bot, Katie. If there's anything there we can mention, and if not, I'll start with some of the questions that were asked in advance.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a comment from Shannon. Just noted that definitely need to embrace AI more. But I think it's nice to think about what it can do.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure, and that's all we're doing, right? Like we want to make you aware of some of the things that are happening. And I think overall it's positive what I see. I see a lot of opportunities, but it's also a lot of unknown. So unknown makes us a little restless, a little uncomfortable at some point. But I know for a fact this is not going away. So you may as well just, get yourself educated and enjoy the ride. It's going to be super exciting. I think what some of this technology can do. So thanks for that comment. Anything else?
Yeah, just a comment from Scott. He agrees, if not all marketing efforts should drive to the website, but how do you keep it current and it doesn't explode in size?
Yeah, excellent question. So, like the size of your website is definitely something to think about. But overall, like if you have more content, more valuable content for your tribe, for the people that you serve, it's generally speaking a good thing for, getting the answers to your clients, getting the information to the search engines, and now getting that information also to the AI bots. So overall, I think the bigger problem is actually not having enough content than having too much content, in my opinion. Okay, so Tricia says, yeah, I found a digital marketing person to help me out. That's great. We had a conversation last week, Patricia, so good to hear. So I'm just going to jump back and forth here, Katie. If anything else comes in, just stop me. But one of the questions that was asked was, how do I track qualified leads to my website? So, and that's an excellent question, right? Because that means that you're thinking in terms of more people coming to your website, but also how can you actually capture those? So, hopefully, some of the things that we talked about today are helpful for that. But the one of the very important things are, and Rebecca, you mentioned it, is the messaging on your website. Is it if it's extremely clear what you do, like what problem you solve for your clients and how you solve it. If that's lacking somehow, it's definitely difficult for people to connect you with solving their problem. So that's one thing you can do. The primary call to action. Okay, like what's the next step? Like a lot of things, we need to be told what to do next. Like it seems kind of redundant sometimes even, but we respond. Your customers respond really well to a three-step plan, for example. For some reason, the three is the magic number, I think. What are the three different steps that I need to do to go through to actually get the result that you're promising, right? So if you can improve on that, I think you will see better results.
Peter, I just
Okay.
want to jump in. There's a question that came in from Chad. What's the best way to make sure the site functions well on both desktop and mobile without having to do lots of side-by-side tests?
Okay, excellent. Excellent question, Chad. Yeah, so it depends on the technical platform that you're working with most of the time. So if you work with a we call them like a cookie cutter platform, such as Wix or Squarespace or some of the more popular ones, they have or WordPress, another popular one. They generally have plugins to make your website mobile responsive. The process that we go through when we build stuff, we're building that mobile responsive experience custom, so we have full control over it. But yeah, it's a challenge, right? And now not only mobile and desktop, now you have what browser are you using on your desktop? What browser are you using on your mobile, right? The field has narrowed down somewhat, but like 10 years ago, we had to optimize these websites for 8 different browsers, and within those browsers, like the different versions of the browser, right? To the point that eventually some of those browsers are no longer supported. So hopefully that helps a little bit, but it definitely, yeah, pay attention to that because like again, you can see in your stats how many people are using mobile, and it needs to better show up properly Otherwise, it's just a negative response again, right? So yeah. Yeah. So how do you get people to actually visit your website? That's a really good question. So yeah, like a lot of the work that we do at Edges actually has to do with that. So I think I have a diagram here. So like these are all, if your website is on the top here, these are all some of the other things that you can consider doing to actually directing traffic to your website. Now, some of them are you're probably already doing, some of them are maybe new to you, but I think that's really, yeah, really important to direct. These are some common tactics to actually direct people to your website. So again, like if you're the person that asked this question and I'm not answering it fully, then by all means put something in the chat box so we can add to it. But then the other question was, how can I grow my audience and turning visits into sales? Again, I think it's really important to grow your audience as a small business now. Even as a small business owner, sometimes we like with all the noise out there, it's really important that you position your business or even yourself as the expert and guide in the problem that you're solving. People really resonate with that, I think, right now in marketing. Um, but yeah, like capturing again, it comes down back to capturing the people that are actually visiting you and get capturing their names and information, so you have something to work with. Because again, let's face it, like, and I'm just, and I think Greg is on the call here from Berman. If you don't capture the information from people that are looking for a college education, university education, sorry, then like how are you going to be able to connect with them, right? How can you follow up and I guess students or people go to a process before they actually make the call. They look at all the different options, right? So I think that audience building and that list building is should be really central to your marketing strategy, in my opinion. And then, of course, but to get there, people need to visit your website, of course, need to actually be exposed to your website. So then some of the lead generating tools that I just showed are really coming into play as far as getting more people to your door. Um, Next question, how to market our websites so people know what we are, what we do. I think we kind of cover that to the most part, right? So again, it's lead generating, and again, being very clear about what you do. We have a process. It's called story brand. Like Katie is kind of the expert on that, but really kind of instead of talking about the benefits and about the technical aspects of your product or service, it actually talks about solving a problem. You want to say quickly something about that, Katie?
Yeah, definitely. So the story brand essentially kind of follows the same path that books and movies often do, but applying it to your business and organization. So as Peter mentioned, the main focus of story brand, and as Rebecca had previously mentioned in the presentation, is about focusing on your client's problem and how you're going to solve it as their guide, not putting the focus on you or your company.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it's kind of a mind shift. We love to talk about ourselves. We love to talk about how long we've been around. But in essence, you're the client on the other side is just looking to solve their problem. And how can you solve it? And how where do I get started, right? So I'm gonna just quickly pause here for the room, like read the room here for a minute. Like if somebody is brave enough to just open their mic and ask a verbal question, we're definitely open to that. This is your time. I want you to get the most out of it. I know it's not hard. It's not easy to do. By the way, like there was more questions sent in than I probably have time to answer in this hour. So I will actually get back to you with a personalized answer on some of these questions because I know those were some things that you were wondering about. So, but this is good for everybody to know, right? So the next question is. How do I get my ideal customer to find my website? It's my business is relational in nature, not transactional. Well, that's an excellent example of why lead nurturing is going to be really important to you. Like of course, the messaging need to make sense to your ideal clients. First of all, you need to identify your ideal client, which is hard sometimes, right? Because especially for starting businesses, they want to serve everybody. The better you are able to actually define that the people that benefit most from you are the best fit for you, the better you better position you are to actually market to those people. So if you don't sell cookie cutter products or widgets, it's really important to build a relationship, and so that downloading of that ebook that you have on your website could be that first step in that relationship. So I think you would be an ideal client for us because you understand why like how the process works, right? Not everybody's ready to buy today, so we need to find systems to actually nurture the relationship. Yeah, like the client lead generation. So yeah, I mentioned the tactics already. The question was what lead magnets are most effective. I think it really depends on your business. I see a lot of value right now. A lot of people have good success with like quizzes. Ask your visitors 5 questions about, whatever problem you solve, and then rate them. Give them a number, like how well they rate for that particular problem. And yeah, a lot of people seem to like that, so they get an instant gratification of knowing, hey, like what's my fitness score, for example, if you're like a gym. People love that, and then at the same token, you're collecting somebody that's actually probably considering going to a gym, which make them an ideal client for your business. So you can be very smart with some of those things. So there's not one size fits all, but some of them are more work to put together as well, right? For you to write an ebook about your business, it needs to be very, like, it's a lot of work actually. So anyhow, how we're doing for time here, where people have to get off. So yeah, again, thanks for joining us. Is there any other questions that we could address that I haven't been able to get to yet? And if you,
I can
yeah,
make a comment. Hey,
okay, yeah.
everybody. Yeah, I just, something came to mind that I just encountered last night, actually, an interesting sort of piece of information, that in the 1980s, when ATMs were introduced to banks, people were quite afraid that tellers would just quickly stop existing. But what turned out happening is over time, uh, each bank branch did end up employing fewer tellers, but the banks were able to expand. And that over time, it turns out that there are actually more tellers today than there were before the advent of ATMs. And I thought that was a really interesting parallel. And if smart websites turn out being the ATMs of modern business, then within a real short time, I think it's going to be the case that all businesses need them. And so I think it's important to be thinking ahead on not only do I need a smart website, but what is my strategy on top of that for looking into the future? So I just thought that was an interesting sort of parallel as it relates to AI.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Anybody else? Shelly, you need to ask this question. Well, Shelly just left the meeting here. Um, so yeah, like one question that oh, you still there, Shelly? I'll get back to you on that. Like you're looking for a platform to do creative courses and a service-based business, correct? Yeah. So I'll get back to you. There's some specific platforms for that you can actually manage, again, your clients for payments and actually delivering those courses as well. So now, depending if you're, like in your case, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but in some cases you can do like a trial or a free course, right? Or like have the first 3 modules of the course accessible for free. But instead of just posting those on YouTube and don't put a gate around it, I think the better solution would be to actually have people sign up for them, right? So although it doesn't cost them anything, but they can sample, they can try your product, and at the same time they can you in return actually get to know who they are, and you could perhaps reach out to them and follow up with them. So that's okay. All right. Yeah. So the one question was an interesting one, especially when it comes to AI. Was like, can AI help me get more customers? uh, well, it's kind of a complicated answer maybe, but AI is just basically a huge database of information, and AI can kind of make conclusions and put connected dots between pieces of information. But I haven't seen a lot of AI bots actively go out to to find you the clients. Like if I would type into ChatGPT, give me all the potential website clients in Red Deer. Well, it wouldn't. I've never tried it, but I don't think it would get very far. There is AI is being used in lead, um, you know, generating tools such as Apollo.io, like basically where you can go in and say, hey, give me a list of all the marketing coordinators in Central Alberta, or give me a list of all the people that are into selling artwork in Alberta, if that's your clientele. I can see definitely benefits there because AI can do a really good job of going to LinkedIn, scrape all the information there, then look at your Facebook profile and see what you're into, and kind of put together a an estimation of what you would be interested in. And some sales forces are really relying heavily on some of these tools now. So instead of going into LinkedIn, if you're in business to business and actually find potential clients, you could actually have AI software that does a lot of that work for you. So I can see a lot of a lot of value there. So again, it's remains to be seen how it all develops, but those tools are out there right now. You can sign up for them, you can try them out, and that's kind of the next step, right? Instead of we call it like inbound lead generation, it's telling people about us, showing up on social, getting content, and hopefully people will come to us. This is actually an outbound strategy. Like it's not, it's almost like cold calling. That's what we used to do, right? Get on the phone, dial for dollars. There's not too many people that do that anymore, except for the people overseas that are still trying that. But AI, we can be a lot smarter about who we actually contact, right? So you can do research with AI to who your ideal clients are. Even if you have a person in mind, you can actually do research on them and see what they're all about. So
Just a question in the chat here from Lauren Peter. How can I start using these ideas if I don't have a website yet?
yeah, that's an excellent question. So yeah, again, you're a little bit handicapped in some ways, right? Because for trust building and conversion, a website is pretty much like an essential part of your marketing. But if you want to go a slightly different direction and use some of the tools to actually identify potential clients, right? If your ideal clients are easily identified, you can actually use some of those AI tools to actually make a list of people that you probably should contact, and you can contact them directly, right? And of course, you don't have the website to prove who you are. But if you're a startup, for example, and sometimes it's actually if you want to validate an idea, for example, you have a new product or new service, but you don't want to invest a lot of money into it, you can actually use some of these tools now to do the research and actually find the people that are potentially, clients for what you have to offer. But and then just contact them, old school, pick up the phone or send an email, do something, or go jump in the car. And if they're local, just jump in the car and go talk to them, right? So there's definitely things you can do, but paid advertising on Google, for example. Well, what happens with the link? Well, the link goes to a landing page or a website, right? So if you don't have that, you're a little bit at a disadvantage. So again, we'll stick around here to answer any questions that you may have, but I do respect your time as well. So thank you so much for joining us today again, and hopefully you are on our list right now, as you probably already have figured out, and I thank you for that. And you will be notified for future events, and including the next webinar that's probably going to talk more about the AI component of how you as a small business owner actually can make sense of some of these things, right? So although it's not directly a service that we provide, we feel that we have some responsibility and some knowledge because it's very technical that we can actually help you with some of those areas. So hopefully you sign up for that, and yeah, I'll stay on here as well to just answer any other questions that you may have. Don't feel that you have to run. As the group is getting smaller, people jumping off, maybe you gather the courage to ask us another question, because this again, this is for you. We want to help you to be more successful in your marketing. So however, whatever we can do to provide, you know, value for you, that's what we're here for. Edge team, any other any things that we talked about that needs to be addressed? Or
No, I think you and Rebecca did a great job compiling all the information and sharing it in a very digestible way, because I know it was a lot of information for everyone. But I think
yeah,
it was definitely a good presentation.
okay, thank you.
I have a question, Peter.
Okay, Shelley.
Ask, do you help people come up with a focused idea for the business? I'm going a step back from the website.
Mhm.
I know,
Yeah.
but is that part of your work at Edge?
Yeah, we do have a, like, we call it strategy first, and it's actually a really good question, and it's actually something that's overlooked by a lot of starting businesses or existing businesses. They try to do all these, you know, generate all kinds of different marketing ideas, but there's no real plan for it. They don't know who their ideal clients are. They don't know, really know what the problem is they're solving in some cases, right? And it's difficult to put in words, especially if you live really close to it. And then ultimately, of course, the third leg of strategy is like where does your audience hang out, right? Like what are the channels that they actually participate in? So you're asking basically the step before that even, because you're asking, okay, I have a gazillion different ideas, and I do too, by the way. But like how do I actually validate some of those things, right? So and then yeah, it's different for everybody, but I think the best thing you can do is talk to other people about it, right? Because if there's some, I think there's so many people that want to start a business, but they just don't have the tools or the you know, they're kind of stuck in this mode of like, you know, my idea needs to be perfect before I do anything else. But that's, I don't think that's really the case. If you have a like a business idea, basically, you need to make sure there's customers there that are willing to pay you and pay you enough, right? And that kind of comes with your revenue predictions. You need to find out, see if this is a feasible business idea, right? And because you can talk yourself into any kind of business idea, and sometimes that's a good thing. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of started people started businesses without doing any of that. They just jumped in because they were excited about a certain product or solution they had, and that worked out for them. Other times, people just spend tremendous amount of time on planning everything and making plans and projections, but without talking to other people about it, right? Like, so if I know the problem you're solving, what that is, if you can clearly communicate it to me what that is in like 3 to 5 seconds, I can give you immediate feedback, and most people are very honest. They go like, yeah, like of course I would pay for that. I've been looking for a service to do to walk my dog, for example, right? Who would ever thought that dog walking would be a business, like even 20 years ago? But it is, because enough people say, yeah, that's exactly a problem I'm dealing with. I don't have enough time with my pets, and I want to take care of my pets. So, I mean, I think that validating that business idea that you have, or those ideas you have, is actually easier than you think it is. It's actually just, you know, don't hide it under a basket. Just go out and talk to people about it, because you have a circle of people that you can talk about it, right? And they're going to be non-judgmental. They're going to be, hopefully they're going to be honest with you, right? So I don't know if that helps at all, but feel free to reach out for a follow-up conversation on that. I'd love to find out more about what you have in mind, and if we can help you steer you in the right direction, by all means. But there's just a few different things that you need to keep in mind, and one of the things is the revenue model. Is it actually, is the problem I'm solving big enough for other people, and is there enough of those people that actually will pay me to solve that problem for them? That's ultimately what you're trying to do. All right, well, thanks again. We're gonna let everybody go, and yeah, see you on the other side. Thanks for participating. Good job, Edge team, and We'll see you next time.